So, I am enjoying the heck out of this series. Welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina, K-R-S-T-I-N-A. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no demons, and none of that fancy mancy stuff going on here. And while I reviewed this series 2 years ago, and I will put the original review in the description below, but these are my comfort series. This is my comfort series. Bad Day, this is the series I read. This is my comfort series. Are you coming up or not? Are you just gonna sit there and look at me? Fine. Sit there and look at me. I love my Eve Dallas. And I did the review once. I did all 60 books. I said, you know what? I need to do these books for me. So every Saturday, we started with Naked in Death. Naked in Death. Person may have more than one copy. Naked in Death. And, where is it? Glory in Death. And, let's see. Immortal in Death. Immortal in Death. I thought there was another one. Oh, yes. Immortal in Death. And, Rapture in Death. And, Ceremony in Death. And, we are on books. Oh, this is the other Rapture. Book 4. Rapture. This is one of the original covers. So, anyway, we are up to book 6. Vengeance in Death. Vengeance in Death. And Eve Dallas is a lieutenant in the New York Police and Security Department. And Rourke is her husband. Somerset is his major domo. Mavis is her best friend. She's a singer. Leonardo is her significant other. Peabody is her aide right now, future partner. Feeney is captain in EDD, her former mentor. Whitney is her boss. Mira is the department shrink. Nadine is a close friend, and she is currently a reporter at Channel 75. That's it. And Mcnabb. We get Mcnabb. Alright. I'll read you the back of this, what it says. We're just gonna read my favorite parts. We're just gonna read the character parts. We're not gonna spoil the mystery itself. And I will include my original review in the description. But I just love and enjoy these books so much. I just want to share them with you. It says he's an expert with latest technology, a madman with the mind of a genius and the heart of a killer. He quietly stalks his prey, then he haunts the police with cryptic riddles about the crimes he's about to commit. Always solved too late to save his victims. Police Lieutenant Eve Dallas found his first victim butchered in his own home. The second died in a vacant luxury apartment, but they were both tortured, and both had ties to an ugly secret of Rourke's. And Somerset is being framed, and Eve has to deal with Somerset being framed and dealing with the emotional fallout, her own emotions, Rourke's emotions, Somerset's emotions, everybody's emotions from the fallout, and Somerset's refusal to listen to Eve on certain things. I will go to market when I want to go to market. He's just He's a stubborn guy. And, oh, so you came up on your own, did you? So he's a very stubborn guy. And I will go to market and I will not change my plans, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, you're being framed. And he just doesn't get it. And then there's later books when his life is threatened. And I know how to take care of myself. And he just goes off. So he's being framed for these murders. He's being framed as a serial killer. Expertly framed, by the way. And we get Mcnabb. Oh, I'm so excited for Mcnabb. Alright, so I'm just going to read some of my favorite passages in the book. It was nearly midnight before Eve dragged herself up the stairs to her own front door. Her stomach was raw, her eyes were burning, her head roaring. The stench of vicious death clung to her, though she scrubbed off layers of skin in the locker room showers before heading home. The door opened before she could reach it. Somerset stood with the glittery light of the foyer chandelier behind him, his tall, bony body all but quivering with dislike. You are unpardonably late, Lieutenant. Your guests are preparing to leave. Guests? I had guests? I didn't know I had guests. Guests? A dinner party? She was supposed to care about a dinner party after the night she'd put in? Kiss my ass. As Rourke's wife, you're expected to perform certain social duties, such as assisting him in hosting an important affair such as this evening's dinner. Step back before I Eve, darling. And Rourke comes in, and he tries to put a hamper on it. I'm sorry I'm late. It was more of a challenge than an apology. Delivered like a bullet. He acknowledged it with an easy smile and lifted an eyebrow. I'm sure it was unavoidable. Yeah, it was murder. She was dealing with a murder. And how did I get all this stuff on here? It was he held out his hand when she crossed the fire and took it. He found her stiff and cold. Her aged whiskey eyes, he saw both fury and fatigue. He'd grown used to seeing both there. She was pale, which worried him. He recognized the smears on her jeans as dried blood and hoped it wasn't hers. He gave her hand a quick, intimate squeeze before bringing it to his lips, his eyes steady on hers. You're tired, Lieutenant. I'm just moving them along. Only a few more minutes, all right? Yeah, sure, fine. I'm sorry I screwed this up. I know it was important. Beyond him in the beautifully furnished parlor, she saw more than a dozen elegant women and men, formally dressed, gem-winking, silking, rustling. Something of her reluctance must have shown on her face before she smoothed it away, because he laughed. 5 minutes, Eve. I doubt this can be as bad as whatever you face tonight. And he takes her in to the room with all these peoples, executive and business owners. Somerset's right. I'm just not equipped for this Rourke's wife stuff. You are my wife. Doesn't mean I'm any good at it. I let you down. I should have. And she's got the shoulda, woulda, couldas down packed. She really does. Later on in the series, well, I don't know, 20, 30 books, they decide that maybe she might want to give a quick text message, court case, we'll be late, but they don't discuss it for like 20 or 30 books. It was a big deal, though. Your Zip merger, Scott Line merger, more of a buyout, really, and it should be finalized by the middle of next week. Even without your delightful presence at dinner, still, you might have called. I worry. I forgot. I can't always remember. I'm not used to this. She jammed her hands in her pockets and paced down the wide hall and back. I'm not used to this. Every time I think I am, I'm not. Then I come walking in here with all the mega arc looking like a street junkie. On the contrary, you look like a cop. I believe several of our guests were quite impressed with the glimpse of your weapon under your jacket and the trace of blood on your jeans. It's not yours, I take it. No. Suddenly, she just couldn't stand it any longer. She turned up to the steps, climbed up too, and sat. Because it was Rourke, she allowed herself to cover her face with her hands. It was bad. And they talk about the case. And Then uh we get Mcnabb. And it's gonna take a few books, and it will irk the life out of the readers that it's gonna take a few books. But in Eve's time, even though there's been 62 books, it's only been about 4 or 5 years in actual character time. So it's the characters took a couple of months, and to us it seemed like 5 to 10 years because the books were spaced out like that. Um, at the sharp rap on her door jamb, she glanced up. She's in her office. She has a very small office, and as much as us readers hem and haw that Eve should get a bigger office than her, even her bosses think she should get a bigger office. um. At the sharp rap on her door jamb, she glanced up, frowned, distracted at the man grinning at her. Mid-20s, she judged, with a pretty boy face and a love of fashion. He barely topped 5'8", even in the neon yellow air boots. He wore denim above them, pants that bagged, and a jacket that showed frayed cuffs. His hair was a bright minted gold that flowed into a waist-length ponytail. He had half-dozen small glinting gold hoops in his left earlobe. You took a wrong turn, pal. This is homicide. You be Dallas? His bright, eager grin pinched twin devils into his cheeks. His eyes were a misty green. I be Mcnabb, EDD. She didn't groan. She wanted to, but she suppressed it to quite sigh as she held out a hand. God Christ was all she could think as he took it with fingers twinkling rings. You're one of Feeney's. Oh, just a second. Oh, yes. He's one of Feeney's. And we will later learn that the music blares in Feeney's, and the geeks don't sit still. They jump around and they live on Mountain Dew type subjects, uh, beverages. Joined his unit 6 months ago. He glanced around her dim, cramped office. You guys in homicide really got squeezed in the budget cuts. We got closets bigger than this in EDD. He glanced over, then beamed a fresh smile as Peabody stepped up beside him. Nothing like a woman in uniform. Peabody? Mcnabb. And because of Peabody's experience with Costco a couple of books ago, she has this mental wall about cops. And it's going to take a few books. Is this EDD dress code? It's Saturday, Mcnabb said easily. I got the call at home. Thought I'd swing in and see what's up. And we're a little loose over at EDD. Obviously, Peabody says. With 3 of us in here, we'll be standing in sin, but I'm game. He shifted enough to let her by, then followed, letting his gaze skim down to judge her curves. Not bad, thought Mcnabb. Not bad at all. When he lifted his gaze and encountered Eve's stony stare, he cleared his throat. He knew Eve Dallas' reputation. She didn't tolerate bullshit. What can I do for you, Lieutenant? I'm homicide detective, and I may have another by this time tomorrow. I need a trace on communication. I need a location. I need to find out how the hell this person is jamming our lines. Then I'm your man. Calls coming in on this unit. Mind if I take your chair? See what I can do? So he goes through all the stuff, and he helps them identify um, the case. Then they go to one of the crime scenes, and I'm not going to spoil it for you here, but it happens to be one of Rourke's vacant residence. Why is a place like this empty? She wanted to know after she assured herself it was indeed empty. It won't be next week. We're renting it. Furnished primarily on short-term to off-planet businesses who don't care to have their high execs in hotels. We'll furnish staff, droid or human. Classy. Um, we have planets. Mars and Saturn and Venus, they're all inhabited in her series. And they're all resorts. We try. He smiled at Peabody as they descended the stairs. All clear, officer? Nothing here except a couple of really lucky spiders. Spiders? Lifting a brow, Rourke took out the memo and plugged it in a note to contact the exterminators. Ah, alright. Let's see what this next one is. I just love this series and I love the characters. Peabody knew when to keep her mouth shut and her thoughts to herself. Whatever had been said in the interview room off record hadn't put her lieutenant in a cheerful state of mind. Like I said, Somerset is the main suspect in this particular crime. He's being framed. Everybody knows he's being framed, but the person who's framing him is doing a really, really good job. Since Eve was currently driving uptown behind the wheel of a not so entirely reliable vehicle, and Peabody was in the passenger seat, the lieutenant's aide chose the better part of valor. Idiots, Eve muttered, and Peabody was dead certain she wasn't referring to the stream of jaywalking tourists who barely missed being mowed down by a maxi bus. Trust my ass. And Eve complains about it for a couple of things. Then they talk about the case in Somerset and his personal stuff. Then let me see what this is first before I she talks to Eve and Eve talks to Peabody and tells us some stuff in confidence. All right, so then we have a little piece of Nadine, our reporter at Channel 75. It surprised Eve to feel her eyes sting. Overtired, she told herself, and willed back tears. Thanks, I owe you big for this. Okay, you going to eat those fries? With half a laugh, Eve shook her head and passed them over. Help yourself. Dallas, how are you going to get around the commander? I'm working on that. Because it made Eve's stomach uneasy, she rubbed it absently. Right now, we have to get back to Central and goose Mcnabb on the jams. I have to deal with the media before this explodes. I need the sweepers and Emmy reports on Conway's homicide. But I have to have a fight with Rourke. Busy day. Why don't I go harass Mcnabb and you can go bribe Nadine first? Good thinking. Eve didn't have to find Nadine. The reporter was in Eve's office, grinning at Eve's communication center. The guts of it was spread over the desk. A little electronic blip, Dallas? Peabody, go find Mcnabb and kill him. Right away, Lieutenant. Nadine, how many times have I told you to stay out of my office? Oh, dozens, I imagine. Still grinning, Nadine sat down and crossed her shapely legs. I don't know why you bother. So who was Sean Connery and why was he killed in Rourke's house? So, she asked for an exclusive on the case. I don't want to reveal any more. But, then I'm not going to really read the details here, but we also discover Somerset had a daughter, Marlena. and she was killed because Rock wouldn't obey, and she was killed to get at Rock. And Rock, regrets what happened, and he took action. And that's another reason why this person is framing Somerset because of Marlena and what happened after Marlena, how Rock took revenge after Marlena. So we find out a lot about her, Somerset's daughter, and their relationship. And then we just, Kevin. Kevin is a very cute little boy. And he appears several times in the books. I think we'll see him before Survivor and Death. If not, we'll see him in Survivor and Death. We will also see the DeBlasses, this book and in Survivor and Death. They were from the first book, Naked in Death. They come from that book. We will see them again. They're at a crime scene, and this little kid is there at the crime scene. I believe it was I think his mother was killed. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah. I think, if I remember correctly. So Rourke comes up, and Peabody's got the kid. And she wants to go in and help Eve with the crime scene. But she can't go because she has to watch the kid. So Rourke comes up and offers to watch the kid. I don't mind the boy, Peabody. That works for me. With more haste than tact, she handed him over. Don't lose him. I'm faster, Rourke said, easily reading the intent, and I've got more experience. Crouching, Rourke gave the kitten a scratch behind the ears. What's his name? Dopey. Not the brightest of the 7 dwarfs, but the most pure of heart. And what's yours? The boy studied Rourke cautiously. Most of the adults in his life only knew Snow White and as an illegal powder. Kevin, he said, and relaxed a little as Dopey was purring hard and loud under the man's strong, scratching fingers. Nice to meet you, Kevin. I'm Rourke. Meetcha. The foolish and loud sound of a child's quick giggle lightened his heart. Think Dopey's hungry? Maybe. There's a cart down the block. Let's check it out. He likes soy dogs, Kevin said. Kevin began to skip alongside Rourke, thrilled beyond belief with his new good fortune. The bruise was a dark and ugly contrast under the pale gray eyes. You, the only sensible choice for the discriminating palate. You talk fancy. It's a fine way to make people believe you're saying something much more important than you are. So they go down to the glide cart, and the glide cart is very vicious to Kevin until Rourke steps in. Did I tell you not to come around here? The operator started to shove Kevin aside, snarling when the boy danced expertly out of reach. I ain't got no freebies for dirty little boys. She grabbed up a handful, dangled fork, jabbing it. Keep pestering me and I'll chop up that ugly cat and fry its liver. I got money, Kevin clutched his kitten tighter, but stood his ground. His stomach was rolling with distress and hunger. Yeah, and I got shit girl gold turds. Go beg somewhere else. I'll blacken your eyes. Rourke stepped up, laid a hand on Kevin's shoulder, and had the operator shrinking back with one stony glare. Can you decide what you like, Kevin? She said she's going to fry Dopey's liver. Just joking with the boy, the operator grinned, showing off teeth that screamed an abhorrence for dental hygiene. I always got a joke and a few with the tater snacks for the neighborhood kids. You're a regular fairy godmother, I imagine. Box up a half a dozen soy dogs, 3 scoops of fries, a couple of fruit nabs, a bag of pretzel twists, 2 jumbo tubes of... What's your drink, Kevin? Orange frizzies? Then two then, and a handful of chocolate sticks. Right away, sir. Want anything else? Here. Why don't you take this, go back to the lieutenant's car, and wait for me? So Kevin took 3 steps, then turning back, did something just childish enough to warm Rock's heart. He stuck his tongue out at the vendor and dashed off. Rock hefted the box of food, ignoring the operator's oily chatter. He tossed credit onto the payboard, then turned through the smoke. I'm in the mood to hurt someone. Too much in the mood, which is why you're still standing. But if you ever lay hands on that boy, I'll hear about it, and it won't be a cat's liver that ends up on the grill. Understood? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Didn't know the kid had a dad. Thought he was just another street bat. They're worse than rats around here. Scavengers making life messy for decent folk. Let's put it this way. Rock clamped a hand over the woman's wrist. It took all the control not to give it the urge to snap it like a dry twig. It should take me about 30 seconds to walk back to where the boy's waiting. When I get there, I'm going to turn around. I don't want to see you. This is my corner. I don't care. Get another one. Um, and Rourke has a really good heart-to-heart talk with Kevin, and they talk about his whole life, and then Rourke arranges for for Kevin to be available for adoption to the DeBlasses. He's gonna have Kevin shipped to the DeBlasses. He's gonna talk to them, and he promised Kevin that he was going into a really nice foster home, and the DeBlasses do end up adopting Kevin. So, and he kind of had a word with the child services lady when she came. It's so cute. It's such a cute thing with Rourke. And Kevin is able to help them with the investigation too. He's really good. And we have a little talk with Mcnabb. Watching her, Mcnabb sat back. You're the primary, Dallas. I figure it's your call. That's kind of a data's tricky. Gets lost really easily. Takes some time to uncover it again. I appreciate it. I appreciate the burger. I'll go back over the steps, see what pops. Feeney says you're the best, and he ought to know. You figure there's something off. Maybe there is, and if there is, I'm good enough to find it. I'm counting on that. Peabody? Sir, just coming. Loaded with a plate, Peabody started out. Bag that if you're hungry and saddle up. You're back on the clock. Just give me a... But since she was already talking to Eve's back, Peabody dropped the plate in front of Mcnabb. Enjoy. I will. See you, she-buddy. And that becomes a nickname for she-buddy, for Peabody. He calls her she-buddy. Alright, let's see what this one is. Mavis. So, like, this is also bogus in extreme. Mavis helped herself to a glass of wine, gesturing with it as she clicked around the room on 4-inch heels. Tiny golden fish swam with their clear spikes. Leonardo and me, we'd caught most of the deets on the screen. I've been by before, but I got gigs scheduled back to back to prep for the recording session next month. And they have a supporting talk with Somerset. All right, let me see what this other one was. I just enjoy these books. I really, really do. They just, I don't know. I like them. I like the characters. I like the character interactions. I like the character progression. I like the growth of characters. They have a million rooms in this house. By 8, Eve had Peabody installed in a temporary office down the hall from her own. It was actually a small and elegant sitting room off a sweeping guest room, but it was equipped with a little tiny communication and information center for the convenience of overnight associates who often visited. Peabody gawked at the original pen and ink drawings covering the walls, the hand-knotted rug, the deep silver cushion spread over an S-shaped settee. Pretty grand workspace. Don't get used to it. I want to be back at Central by next week. Sure, I'll just enjoy this space while it lasts. She already eyed the mini chef and speculated on what it might offer. It offers a lot. And she's always asking permission before she touches anything. Oh, that's Nadine, but that reveals too much of the case. Alright. Now, I think this is the first one. It might be the second. I think it's the first. It might be the second. I think it's the first. I'll have to look into it later. If it's the second, I would have talked about it in the previous videos. I'll have to go back and look. Eve has a history with cars. And it will take until, and there is hope, because Eve argues this point 6 ways to Sunday and backwards and frontwards and that way and that way and that way and that way. She argues it to death. And it isn't until promises and death that a miracle happens. But between now and promises and death, you gotta deal with the cars. So he's talking to... Who's she talking? I think she's talking to... I think she's talking to Rock. And she's talking to him on her car phone. It's audio, and it has a visual. It's built in, hands-free type situation. And there's a car accident. They're talking about having pizza for dinner. Peabody's with her, so she's talking to Peabody. So there's a car accident that happens in front of them. Dallas, maybe you ought to wait for backup. Forget it. I'm sick of these idiots. She slammed her door, took 3 long strides, and the world erupted. She felt the hot fist of air punch her in the back, scoop her up like a doll, and fling her forward. Her eardrums sang with the force of the explosion as she flew. Something sharp, twisted, and flaming hot passed her head. Someone screamed. She didn't think it was herself, as she couldn't seem to draw in breath. And Rock, of course, panics, hears about it on the news. Rock muscled his way through the crowds of people, lines of emergency vehicles. Airlifts hovered above, shouting out their streams of lights amid the shrieks of silence. There was smell of sweat and blood and burning. A child was screaming in long, gulping wails. A woman sat on the ground, surrounded by sparkling fist-sized diamonds of Duraglass, and wept silently in her hands. He saw her blackened face, shocked eyes, but he didn't see Eve. He refused to allow himself to think or feel or to imagine. He'd been in Eve's office tinkering with Mcnabb when the hail for Peabody had come in. He continued to work, amusing himself by listening to Eve's voice, the irritation spiking it, then the disgust when she ordered Peabody to call for a floater. Then the female almost shriek of the explosion had caused the communication to jump in Peabody's hand. He hadn't waited, not even a heartbeat, but had been out of the room and gone even as Peabody had desperately tried to raise Eve again. He abandoned his car a full block back. He was making good time on foot. And he goes to the crime scene and he finds Eve. Um, and she's fighting with the EMTs. Eve will always be fighting with the EMTs. Forever will be fighting with the EMTs. She hates EMTs. Keep that thing away from me. Did I tell you to get me a communicator? I'm doing my job, Lieutenant. If you just cooperate. Cooperate, hell. Cooperate with you guys and I'll end up drooling and trapped in a gurney. You need to go to a hospital or health center. You have a concussion, second-degree burns, contusions, lacerations. You're shocky. She reached up and grabbed him by the band collar of his uniform coat. One of us is going to be shocky, Ace, if you don't get me a goddamn communicator. Well, Lieutenant, I see you're in usual form. Hi! I was just trying to get this jerk to find me a communicator so I could call you, let you know I'd be late for dinner. I figured that out for myself when we heard your explosion. Darling, you're not looking your best. If this guy would just patch me up enough so I could go. Hey! She slapped out, but wasn't quick enough to prevent the pressure ring from shooting into her arm. What was that? What'd you give me? A pain blocker. And a pain blocker makes Eve goofy. And she says all these romantic stuff to Rourke. And how he's gorgeous and gooey and all that kind of stuff. So then we have Nadine comes and you want me to tell you something in confidence, Nadine? I will. Where you go with it is your choice. I'm scared. She moved her hands to cover her face just for a moment. I'm scared to the bone because I know the others are just layered. He's working his way through them to get to the core, and the core is Rourke. Nadine stared. She'd never seen Eve really vulnerable. Hadn't known she could be, but the woman sitting on her bed, her sleeve shirt hiked on her thighs, her head in her hands, wasn't a cop. Not then. She was just a woman. So you wanted to make sure they had to go through you first. That was the idea. Oh, that's right. Eve uses Nadine to let the killer know she's coming after him. And the killer went after her by planting the bomb. So, they go through some more stuff, and I like this little piece here. Since Peabody and Mcnabb had begun sniping at each other like longtime cohabs, she separated them, shooing them off to different assignments in different locales. With their current competitive level, she hoped to have her answers from both of them by midday. Okay, so there's a serial killer killing all these people from Rourke's past. It has a lot to do with Marlena, and it has a lot to do with Somerset and Rourke. Although they're innocent of these particular murders, of these crimes, they've got a history. And the guy that's doing the killing knows the history, and he's trying to get his own personal revenge. So how Eve works around the commander and how she files her reports and how Peabody and Mcnabb continue to snipe her. And our next book next week is Holiday and Death. It's our first Christmas party. Our first party. First Christmas. Yes! And I gotta find the snippet. There's another book after that. There's I believe it's coming. I think the half book comes after that one. I'll have to go double check. But Vengeance in Death, Book 6. Vengeance in Death. I love these books. I love sharing them with you. It makes me happy. I love these books. I just do. I can't help it. tune in next Saturday. It's going to take us the entire year to go through these. By the time we get there, there'll be 2 more books. There'll be 64 books in this series. Woohoo! Give me a series. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I could use the subscribers. Thank you.